Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Poems I Love. On today's episode, I shall be reading J.P. Clark's Abiku against Timi's If You Could Trick Death with a Name. Abiku by J.P. Clark. Coming and going these several seasons, do stay out on the baobab tree. Follow where you please your kindred spirits, if indoors is not enough for you. True, it leaks through the thatch when floods brim the banks, and the bats and the owls often tearing at night through the eaves. And at Amatan, the bamboo walls are ready tinder for the fire that dries the fresh fish up on the rack. Still, it's been the healthy stock to several fingers, to many more will reach to the sun. No longer then bestride the threshold, but step in and stay for good. We know the knife scars serrating down your back and front, like beak of the swordfish, and both your hairs, notched as a bondsman to this house, are all relics of your first comings. Then step in and stay, for our body is tired, a milk going sour, where many mouths gladden the heart. The second poem, If You Could Trick Death with a Name by Timi. So this particular poem has an epitaph which I will read. To love something is to name it after something so worthless it might be left alive, untouched by ocean Vuong. We watch the mother stare, unflinching, at the death of a newborn, and whisper in that din of spirits, Abiku, look, there is no plea left in these eyes you wasted with tears. Sorrow burns, old names crackle with glee. We see Bamitale go up in flames, Durojaye following into the ash like a lost lamb. In this dearth of memory, we watch the darkness as it watches the mother, watching a newborn, tender as the underbelly of love. We see her spit a name so vile it stank and slap it on his face. Nobody remembers when we begin to cry in our place beneath that tree in the shadow of God, where we do not realize that this was the hardest act of love, the mother unsmacking the child, signing, please don't leave my baby, hoping death, blind to this nuance, goes off in search of some more precious things. These are really moving poems, and they both converge on their exploration of the Abiku narrative, a narrative that is quite peculiar to most, or should I say a majority of the major Nigerian cultures. I'm speaking of the Hausa and the Yoruba rather, and then the Igbo, at least those that I know of. Although they have different terms, for these things. I think the Igbo refer to it as Obanje or something like that. So that's by the way. So besides the fact that these poems, explore a similar topic, the approach to exploring them is also quite similar. And then I'm going to start with the mood, of narration, or the mood of flow that these poems take. When you read the poem, you find out that these two parts are not the persona of these two poems are similar in the fact that they are more like interceding, on behalf of the mother to the child, So the tone is quite placatory in the fact that, they've been a first or a second hand witness to this mother's sorrow, or to the sorrows that this child has caused the mother, due to their several appearances and several disappearances. So the odds that they caused this mother, they've been a first hand witness, to it, and then they are coming to intercede on behalf of the mother. Oh, please stay. Oh, please don't go. Please come inside. We understand this, we understand that, but this same house has done this to these people. It's a good place to breed you. It is a place that is not entirely bad for you. So the tone and the temperament is placatory. They are begging the child, why they're trying to, to suit the child. Another thing that this poem also agreed to is that they are also comforting, the mother, oh, can't you see what she's going through? Can't you see the pain? And then there is also, besides the tone and the temperament and then the narrative, another area of convergence between these two poems is that the images, they are quite similar when you look at them very closely. You see the image of the mother tearing the child, and then the agony that comes from that act. It is something that we know that when the child dies, they mark the child's body with sharp objects, in which case these poets or these poems I like to be a knife, and then to now capture how piercing or how gruesome this object is. I could remember J.P. Clark described it as the knife as sharp as the mouth of a sword, the beak of a swordfish, which is quite sharp and edgy, and then the act is done to the child, which is kind of brutal, but at the same time, these poets have been able to attach this act to a form of love, to a form of love. And that is something, that is equally fascinating about these two poems. Another image that these poems, build upon is the image of, the fire. The fire, they call up that image, so beautifully and so well that it can't be ignored. In the case of J.P. Clark, there was this part where he mentioned and the bats and the owls often tearing at night through the eaves, and at Harmattan the bamboo walls are ready tinder for the fire that dries the fresh fire up on the rack. So there is that image of the fire that these poems try to bring up. And then in the other poem, that same image is conjured, where we have sorrow bonds, old names crackle with glee, we see Bamitale go up in flames, Durojaye following in the ash like a lost lamb. And I think that more than the idea of fire, as some idea of fire, this thing are trying to communicate, death by fire is, I think, one of the most gruesome form of death, and then now imagine a mother putting a child through that, process, you get. So I think that, just tries to inform us of how agonizing the whole idea of getting rid of the child and trying to prevent their reappearance and all of that from happening. So I think even beyond that too, the fire, before besides the fire also being a symbol of a gruesome death or whatever, I think it also hints at the culture all right, the culture in which these poems have been contextualized, you know, when we talk about, the fire, you think of hell, you think of destruction, you think of things that, that shows something coming to an end. So I want to believe that the idea of something coming to an end and not being able to return in its form or shape or size, I want to just assume that that is the idea that poets are trying to, to convey with the fire. So so before now, I don't think, besides JP Class poem, which I think, it's no, the poem has aged really well. I don't think I've been privileged enough to come about a contemporary poem on this Abiku narrative that is as well written as this one by Timi Sanni. So it's really a spectacular poem. Yeah. So on this note, I say to you goodbye and thanks for listening.